Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And the Jaguars have paid Josh Allen. Now, the kind of contract he got for a linebacker is welcome to the NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. The kind a couple of players have been paid this past week and this morning, as the Jacksonville Jaguars have signed Josh Allen, the linebacker, to a 5-year contract worth $150 million. What does this mean? It means Allen, who had a great season, had 17 and a half sacks, played very well, and had been productive before this, but not productive during. His entire career has kind of been like, all right, pretty good, decent. This was his best contract yet. They put up, so Nick Bosa is making $34 million APY, so average per year is $34 million. Chris Jones is 31.8. Josh Allen is now at 30 million. Now, I saw this thing about what does this mean for other players? What does this mean for players that are like Micah Parsons who are multidimensional? And I don't think it affects I don't think people understand it doesn't affect him because his contract's already going to be the massive contract. The reason it is going to be that way is he plays so many different positions. Where, say, like Chris Jones, who plays defensive tackle, defensive end, like he's not being asked to do as much. Where Micah Parsons is being asked to do a lot at times. Cover, play linebacker, play outside linebacker, play edge rush, play interior defensive lineman, do whatever you got to do. And we'll see what Mike Zimmer does. But this does not affect him. Right now, this was on Josh Allen. 5-year deal, $150 million, $30 million APY. It's a great contract for him. It's a great job by Jacksonville to get this done early. This is how teams do it. Smart teams pay their guys right away. They don't go and say, well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. That's not what good teams do. Good teams with good front offices go and they get the deal done. They don't care. Get the deal done. Let's find some common ground and let's go. Now, they're not the only team that found common ground, as the New England Patriots signed Kyle Duggar, who was on the franchise tag as well as Josh Allen was. Duggar signed a contract. He was previously on the transition tag, where he would have made $13.8 million. Instead, now is making $14.5 million on a new contract. $32 million guaranteed, and he could be getting up to $66 million. The actual deal is $58 million deal. Could be a maximum of $66 million with incentive. This is how you do contracts. You sign a contract, you have a contract number, and you say, by the way, if you get these incentives, you can get this. Now, the likelihood of you getting those incentives, not very high, but that's what you do. And good teams say, well, we can't get you to 25. We can get you to 20. We can get you $5 million in incentives, We can't get to the 25 right now. But if you get these incentives, you'll get 25 at the end of the year. That's what they do. That's what smart teams want to do. That's good cap management, understanding you can bend the rules a little bit. And that's what they did. It's a great job by the Patriots and a great job by the Jaguars to do that. Now, moving on. The NFL is moving a game and is using a game in Brazil. That has been set. This game is going to be played on Friday, September 6th, 2024, marking it the first time the NFL has played a game on a Friday night on opening weekend. And they haven't done that in over 50 years when it was the Cardinals and Rams, September 18th, 1970. The game consists of the Packers and the Eagles. Now, a bunch of you know this. A lot of teams are not thrilled with going to these other marketplaces because it affects how they operate on an everyday basis. The issue that these teams have, as we're not seeing the date or the time, excuse me, for when this game is going to happen, is they're going to fly back on a Saturday. Okay? Fly back on a Saturday. I'm actually going to quickly look and see how far a flight is to from Philadelphia. If I can spell it right, Philadelphia to San Paulo. Brazil. There you go. So it says about 11 hours there and back. So it's not as bad as, say, the UK, but it's still a far enough trip. And that's an issue, I think, for some teams. They are not willing to go to these places. If you're gonna make us fly and then to this place, fly back the next day, and and after the game, and then get ready for a week, that's hard. Teams are not exactly thrilled at that. Players are not exactly thrilled with that. To put this the first game of the year is, well, it was gonna happen either way. It was just more of who was gonna go. Now, both the Packers and the Browns were in this race, which I'm kind of thrilled that they were, because I was like, if you put a division rival to do that, you kind of take away what that feel of the stadium would be. So you couldn't do that. And they decided the best route was to go with the Packers, because who wants to go to Green Bay in September on a Friday? Do it in Brazil. Let's go. And to what I'm very excited to see how this works. Now, there's no date There's no time of when this will happen. We'll probably know that in the upcoming weeks. We also don't know who's calling this game, which is very interesting. Um, Not 100% sure if this is the opening game either, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Now, let's see if we can get back. Here we go. Excuse me. Um, Except Anfield, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers safety, is reportedly close to a new deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a huge deal. And this this is gonna need to happen. Winfield is a great player, very mentally focused, understands where he's supposed to be at all times, never really caught out of position. The reports that Antoine Winfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers working on a deal to make him the NFL's highest paid safety. The Buccaneers are optimistic. It goes on and says Winfield was named first team All Pro in 2023 and is getting paid like one. I will make note this is a little bit of a sidetrack. The fact that Antoine Winfield got All Pro but didn't make the Pro Bowl makes no sense to me. It doesn't make sense at all. He's the best safety, so therefore we're going to call him an All Pro, but we're not going to give him a Pro Bowl. That makes no sense. That's another reason why the Pro Bowl is a joke. It says there's only 2 franchise tag players left on the market, as Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins requested a trade. It went in Buck safety Antoine Winfield is working towards a deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to make him the highest paid safety in the NFL. There was optimism that a deal will get done before the mid-July deadline. Supposedly a multi-year deal. If I can, there we go. Winfield, who turns 26, was a second round pick in the 2020 draft. He's coming off a career year with he was a first team All Pro. Finished with a career high in tackles, as well as 12 pass breakups and 3 interceptions, 6 forced fumbles and 4 fumble recoveries, 6 sacks and 8 quarterback hits, all which were career highs for Winfield. So, does he deserve this? The answer is yes. But the safety market, I think, has been very laxed because we're still looking at like Justin Simmons being available. The cornerback market's the same way. We're still looking at Stephon Gilmore and Xavier Howard, who are still good players, are still available, and maybe teams are just waiting to after the draft, but to fill up those remaining holes that they can't deal with in the draft. But until that happens, it's like it's a wait and see period. And maybe Tampa can get this ball rolling a little bit by signing Antoine Winfield to a massive contract. Now, I will make note this report does not say when the deal gets done. So to me, there is no exact time limit for this deal to get done. More of it will get done before July. That's what they're saying. And finally, I have here. See if okay, yeah. As today is the birthday of a legend, or of two legends actually, two legends. The late great John Madden and former Pittsburgh Steeler Mel Blount. So we got Mel Blount here, and here are supposedly 5 facts that you did not know about Mel Blount. First of all, the Mel Blount rule. This is a very known topic, but just to cover it, Blount and the Steelers had already began their dynasty prior to the 1978 season after winning back-to-back Super Bowls in 74 and 75. But it appeared that the competition committee was intent to stop the Steelers from further league domination entering the 78 season. As it continues on, the committee, which was led by then coach Don Shula, instituted several rules that favored offenses while promoting higher scoring contests. One of the changes was they prohibited contact between defensive backs and wide receivers. From the inception of the rule has been known in history as the Mel Blount rule, because Mel Blount used to tackle you prior to the ball getting there. He'd just tackle you. You'd start you out, he'd tackle you. The ball's getting thrown, he'd tackle you. Like, that's what he did. Blount recalled in a 2021 interview, when that happened to me, I took it as an insult. All things he talked about this on All Things Covered podcast with Patrick Peterson and Brian McFadden. As if, okay, so you're putting in this rule because you think the only way I can play and it's going to slow me down. We were so dominant. We had Green, LC Greenwood, Jack Lambert. We were so dominant. They were trying to find a way to slow our defense down. I didn't really like that rule, but I wanted to prove that there was another gear that I could go, another level. So we were able to win 2 more Super Bowls after the changed rule. Moving on, Defensive Player of the Year. This is something I did not know. Blount became the second Pittsburgh Steeler to win Defensive Player of the Year in 75. In 1975, as Joe Green and Mel Blount's Hall of Fame teammate for 12 of 14 seasons, Pittsburgh won the honor in 72 and in 74. Lambert, the Hall of Fame linebacker, Jack Lambert, the Hall of Fame linebacker, won the award also. After Blount in 76. In a 14-game season, because that's when they only played 14 games, Blount had 11 interceptions in the 75 season, along with winning the Defensive Player of the Year. That was Blount's first Pro Bowl, and as well as an All-Pro. The Steelers went 12-2, successfully retaining the Super Bowl. Goes on to Super Bowl success. Blount recorded 3 interceptions in the 4 Super Bowl wins in the 70s. 2 of those picks came off future Hall of Famer Roger Staubach, in which the Steelers had 2 Super Bowl wins over the Cowboys. It goes on. It says, a new decade, same Blunt. Blunt was known for his brilliance. He was actually named to the All-Decade team in the 80s instead of the 70s. Blunt in the decade only played 4 seasons. Played in the first 4 seasons and was an All-Pro in 81. After picking off 6 passes, he intercepted 4 passes in 1983, which was his final season. And then it goes on saying that he could be the greatest cornerback to ever live, which is not that much of a shocker. I always find it fascinating also. When you're so dominant at your position, especially when you're older, and you can be like nominated for the all decade team, like that's the most interesting thing to me. You see these guys, they play 1 or 2 years in a decade, and then they play another decade and a half, and they're part of 2 all decade teams because they were so dominant. That to me is a great thing to have. So happy heavenly birthday to the late coach John Madden, and happy birthday to Mel Blount. For more NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.